No one believes the Earth is flat, motionless, and at the centre of the known and knowable universe. It is self-evident that this is the case. It is the globe model which requires belief. I remember when I first heard about flat Earth, it was 2015. I remember thinking to myself, how can the shape of the Earth be a serious point of debate in the 21st century? Because of course with all the pictures and video taken by the various space agencies in existence, the truth must just be a Google search away, right? So when I got home later that evening, I opened Google and I asked for pictures of the Earth from space. Which one do you think is the real Earth? Must be this blue marble shot from the Apollo 17 mission taken in 72, right? I mean, CGI wasn't even a thing back then, was it? But these others... At this point in time, and based on my current understanding, I don't think it can ever be proven the Earth is flat. Or more accurately, it can never be proven that it has no physical form beyond what we are able to perceive with our own senses, which is that it is flat, motionless, the centre of the universe. What we can do with an open mind, a bit of critical thinking, not to mention a requisite and I believe healthy disregard for peer pressure, is spend a bit of time on the internet learning about the proposed flat model with all its problems, and learn about the problems of the globe model. Remember, the vast majority of people believe unquestioningly that they live on a spinning ball, but very few indeed are able to demonstrate why. The difficulty for 99% of us is that the programming is very, very deep, and critical thinking, at least when it comes to something this huge and fundamental, is insufficiently developed. For example, if you think the official 9/11 story makes sense, if you believe a 500,000 ton building made of steel columns collapsed at free fall speed straight down into its own footprint due to asymmetrical damage from a lightweight aluminium aircraft and localised fires on the upper floors, not just once mind, but twice, you're not ready for flat Earth. Not by a long shot. From what you observe, why do you believe the Sun is massive and distant and the Moon is relatively small and close? Why do you believe that one orbits us while we orbit the other? Because that's what we were told? Why do you believe you can see the curve going away from you, that is, you can see a ship disappear over the horizon? What if I told you that a 6-foot person stood at roughly sea level can see at most 4 miles to the horizon? On a globe supposedly 8,000 miles in diameter, is 4 miles enough to see the curve with the naked eye? What if I told you perspective is the reason objects appear smaller and ultimately disappear as they approach the vanishing point, and that perspective functions this way regardless of whether we are theoretically on a sphere or a flat plane? I have linked the video I used to illustrate this point in the description box. It is a quite brilliant step-by-step explanation of how perspective and mirror distortion causes boats to apparently vanish, not the curvature of the Earth. Stop looking for proof of the flat Earth, look instead at the so-called proofs of the globe. Pictures of Earth from space. Most of these are taken from the ISS. Curved lenses are used, which give the illusion of a curved horizon. This doesn't prove it's flat, it just shows that the image has been manipulated to show something which is either not nearly as pronounced in actual reality, or it's not there at all. If it's really there to be seen, just show us and a lot of flat earthers will happily admit being wrong. The fisheye lens also gives the false impression that the ISS is much further from Earth than it really is. The second type of picture we have of Earth, and the only type to show anything approaching the full disk, is the CGI composite. Made by satellites usually in low Earth orbit, which spiral across the Earth's surface in what's known as an inclined orbit, collecting data which is then assembled in Photoshop into the completely fake looking blue marbles.
It is photoshopped, but it has to be.
Eratosthenes and his sticks. Legend has it that a man living in the 3rd century BC observed sunlight shining vertically down a well in Syene, Egypt, on the summer solstice, and at the same time knew that a stick placed in the ground 600 miles north in Alexandria would cast a shadow. He used this observation to calculate the Earth's circumference remarkably consistently with the size calculated by modern scientists. He made several major assumptions, however. 1. That the Earth's surface is curved. 2. That the Sun is millions of miles away and extremely large. 3. That light rays reaching us from the Sun are parallel. He would have found exactly the same results had he assumed a flat Earth with a much smaller local sun and non-parallel sun rays. Again, this is not a proof that the Earth is flat, but it certainly does not prove the globe either. I would suggest that it gives weight to the duality of physical reality, that it can effortlessly be one thing or the other, shifting around the observer depending on their beliefs and the assumptions they make. Seeing further from a higher vantage point. As you gain altitude, the horizon rises to eye level. This is observed by anyone taking a flight in a commercial airliner reaching typical cruising altitudes of around 35 to 40,000 feet. This is exactly consistent with what we would expect to see on a flat Earth. I wouldn't call it proof, however, because even on a sphere, with the ground curving away uniformly in all directions from the observer, the horizon will still appear flat until you reach a very high altitude indeed. Amateur weather balloons reach altitudes of 120,000 feet, 3 times that of a commercial airliner, and those using non-fisheye lenses show a flat horizon which always rises to eye level. How big is this globe supposed to be? Again, the horizon is a function of point perspective, that's how our vision works, and not the result of a curving surface dropping away from view. I've seen it with my own eyes from the window of a plane. At sea level we experience air pressure of 1 kilogram per square centimetre, or 1 atmosphere. At 40,000 feet, a typical cruising altitude for a long-haul commercial airliner, we experience 0.192 atmospheres. That's a 90% reduction in air pressure. If you've ever flown, you will have felt your ears pop as the plane ascends after takeoff. Although the cabin is pressurised to some degree, this is also a function of altitude and reduced air pressure. The effect on the aluminium skin and indeed the windows of the plane is many times greater than that on your eardrums. The whole exterior of the plane is effectively being sucked outwards. Don't worry though, the windows are specially designed to flex under pressure. In doing so, however, they create a slightly curved lens distorting the horizon. Here is a video from a fighter jet at a much higher altitude than a commercial flight. Watch the horizon change as the camera pans from the very curved glass at the front of the cockpit to the much flatter glass at the side. The glass in plane windows is bending the light, just as a specifically designed lens would. One of the easiest to spot and most undeniable NASA fakes of all is the deceptively simple illusion created by the crew of Apollo 11, Aldrin, Armstrong and Collins, in 1969. They claim to be around 200,000 miles from Earth on final approach to the Moon, and they are looking back to Earth with a camera pressed up against the window of their spacecraft. The illusion is ruined, however, when one of the astronauts' arms gets in the way of the shot and the camera moves, revealing the interior of the craft. The apparent distant Earth effect is created by the darkened interior and a circular porthole window. I'll leave a link in the description box below so that you can watch the whole film and decide for yourself. The dead giveaway of this hoax is the original shot they compose, which shows the so-called Terminator line, where day meets night on the planet's surface, running horizontally around the Earth's diameter. The sun rises in the south and sets in the north, right? Later they correct this mistake to show the Terminator line running vertically, as we are told it should do. Don't worry, Brian, no one's really going into space. It's all theory built upon theory. When you cannot find any incontrovertible evidence of rotation, sphericity, a molten magnetic core, genuinely incontrovertible manned flights beyond the upper atmosphere, satellites, genuinely incontrovertible conventional digital images of the Earth from space, evidence of gravity which cannot be more simply and economically explained by density and buoyancy, then you have moved out of a belief in something that you cannot prove and into a knowledge of how little you know about one of the largest and deepest fundamentals of our shared reality. This is powerful stuff for those with the stones to let go of familiarity. But why hide the truth? The thing in your mind that tells you the Earth is definitely a globe is primarily a lifetime of indoctrination, confirmed by some questionable observations which rely on prior assumption to come to the right conclusion. Who's behind it doesn't matter for the purposes of simply admitting to oneself that there is doubt. There is doubt here about one of the most fundamental cornerstones of our shared physical reality. Doubt equals possibility. In this case, literally infinite possibility. They're not hiding the shape of the Earth, they're hiding the fact that there is no physical Earth, nor space, just simply a projection in the mind of the observer, in the collective mind of all observers. If you tell everyone it's a spinning globe and show a bit of dodgy CGI and mountains of sci-fi, they'll buy it and start collectively projecting that reality. You only need to watch the news to see how the populace are being manipulated into creating a world of inequality, fear, separation, and general chaos. Someone figured this out a long time ago at the dawn of civilization and invented the first gods and used them as leverage to harness the minds of their peers. This truth has remained secret and been passed down to the present day, and they're still at it. The globe Earth is one of the central tenets of a religion without a name, adhered to by almost every man, woman and child in existence. I'm genuinely looking forward to the proposed manned mission to Mars. I am genuinely looking forward to Virgin Galactic and the advent of space tourism. I'm ready to eat humble pie when I see a conventional digital video of the complete Earth rotating in space, or even an amateur weather balloon video of the curve with no fisheye lens might sway me. I have looked and not yet seen these things, but I have seen a lot of thinly veiled fakery from amateurs, from NASA and other space agencies. Why would they need to fake it if it were really there to be seen? Why would they employ fisheye lenses on the ISS if they were genuinely high enough to see the curve? Why would the Apollo 11 crew fake being far from Earth if they were actually going to travel far from Earth? I've seen Epic Discover, Himawari and loads of ISS stuff, by the way, about as realistic as Star Trek. Once you put on the special glasses, that is. Outer space isn't physical, it's another dimension. Other worlds and entities do exist out there, but not in the physical sense. It is our limited human perspective which assumes that if this place called Earth is physical in nature, then other worlds must be too. But even that is an erroneous assumption. All the effort that goes into making us think there is such a place as outer space, Hollywood, NASA, is there really any difference? Is an effort to use humanity's collective creative consciousness to manifest just such a place. Manifest a way out of the closed system that is physical Earth. The entirety of the one physical dimension in existence.